Well, hello, this is John Yates, and I chair the technology practice at the law firm Morris, Manning & Martin. And I'm proud today to be as a part of MMM Tech Law and Business Report with my good friends, Mitch Skyer and Scott Reiser, who are the co-founders and key executives at Passio Technologies. So, Scott and Mitch, great to see you.
Thank you, John.
Great to see you too, John.
Great to see you too.
Thanks for having us on.
How did you guys end up building the company? Let's walk through that, and then maybe you can give us the quick elevator pitch too.
Sure. Well, I'll start with how we met and built the company. I had my own consulting firm, and I was doing a unique type of consulting for transit business operations for universities. So we very specific. And I joined a networking group called the Atlanta Business Alliance. And one of my customers, who's an Atlanta customer, the Atlanta University Center, Spelman, Morehouse, ITC, had a system in there that I'd helped them manage. The problem was it was basically like computers in their buses. It's not a good idea, but that's how it was set up way back then. And I met Scott in this networking group. He joined right after I did. And Scott knew desktop computers and IT and networking. That was the business he had. He had his own managed service and networking and so computer support business. And so I asked him, I said, hey, can you help me fix these computers on a bus? And he said, I guess it's the same as doing it in somebody's office. And we went out there, and then the next part's really great. So we looked at the stuff. Scott helped me fix it, and we did that, and he did some extra work for the customer. And then he said, you know, this system is really pretty lousy. We could do it better ourselves. I said, well, that's an interesting thought. And so he said, what do you think? And he told me his idea. I said, okay. So I brought it to our customer. And I asked the customer, I said, what about if we never had you mess around with licensing fees or anything? You have it for life. The only thing is we get to sell it to everybody else. But for you, you have a lifetime license. Will you help us? He agreed in about 32 seconds. And from there, we built it, tested it, and they've been a great longtime customer and still a terrific customer since then.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, we didn't even think that it was necessarily going to go past there. We were thinking, you know what, this is a product, we're selling it, we'll make some dollars. Maybe sell it to someone else too, but then all of a sudden we were getting more business, checks were flowing in. We're like, we have to create a company. And
it's a great story.
And that we did.
The mission statement or the elevator pitch. I mean, how would you describe Passio?
Passio provides technology for the passengers, people who are operating it, and for the people who are managing their transit systems. And we do everything from universities, cities, airports, and non-emergency medical transport to make sure that the passengers know how to get a ride, they know how to manage those rides, see where things are in real time, and the people who are operating can schedule their resources and really make sure that they're managing their costs, their time, and the resources, including the vehicles and the drivers.
It's a great story. So what separates us from everybody else out there? Because there's some other players that are doing this as well, but Passio seems to have a competitive edge. What's the edge?
I think a lot of the edge is really where we came from. Mitch came from a consulting background in the transit space. I came from a technology background. And then so the combination of his background and my background really brought together a sense of wanting to create the right technology, but in the right way for the right people with the right operational expertise. What we've seen a lot of our competitors, they are a technology company that started as technology and then they got to try to understand the transit space. Whereas we came at it from a very operational side to be able to understand the operations and then apply the technology to it. And I think that's really shows through both in how we develop the software and what we implement, as well as in our customer service and support, as that is a very high play. We hold that in high regard as far as what we want to deliver to our customers.
Right. What's the perfect customer for us, would you say, Mitch and Scott? I mean, what are those characteristics and how big is that market?
Well, every customer is a perfect customer, John, because we love them all. So, you know, our perfect customers are the ones who embrace the technology and use it as a tool and use us as a resource. And I don't mean to say that in a light way. That really is the magic customer. What we love being is in the mid-market space, and the mid-market space is enormous. So we think of things in the size of buses, but really it's about the solutions you need and the number of buses in your fleet. There are some, agencies with massive numbers of buses in their fleets, but those aren't a lot. They're out there, the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs. But what we're looking for, those people who are in that mid-range of the number of vehicles in their fleet, but who are demanding superior technology because they've got to do more with less. I mean, that's not just now, but that's always. And so we're looking for those customers who need multiple solutions, want things intertwined and working together seamlessly, not a hodgepodge. And that's what our platform does. And as far as where the potential goes, that's where we find that it is enormous potential, because we're not just looking at solving the one simple product where counting passengers or tracking or knowing when your next bus will arrive, but putting it all together, because the world's changing. And those buses have to do things, whether they're buses, vans, minivans, they have to provide service where people need it. Sometimes you need heavy duty service on a major artery, but sometimes you need those vehicles to go when a passenger flags you down. And we hope they do it virtually or electronically through our system. How do you get there? But how do you not reduce what you're serving these other clients who need that regular service? It's all got to come together. There needs to be one transit vision that uses the resources effectively.
And that's really where we think our operational background and expertise will come into play even stronger, is with having that vision that we can say, okay, we now have all these products, all these pieces of how different transit operators run. Now let's pull them together and make it work for the operators, because once the technology can work for the operators, then it can work for the riders.
I love that, an integrated transit vision. It's a great way to describe it. So maybe a final question, COVID-19, how's it impacted the business, and how do you see it impacting the business moving forward?
I'll jump in to start that. Just what we spoke about just a moment ago that you asked us, I've been calling it transit elasticity, and that's not the word that we're going to use in the future, but it gives you a picture. It needs to move and contract and expand as you need it. So that's one thing that we're seeing overall, and I don't think that's going to be limited to COVID. But if you take the specifics for COVID, people need real-time information about how the buses are being used and where and who's on the buses. And that comes into two major categories for right now, where we are today. Number one is that passenger load. How many people are on the bus at any given time? It used to be you would cram 30, 40, 50 people on a bus, or even more sometimes. And that just can't happen now. That's just not safe. So knowing how many people are on those buses and where they are, and if you need more vehicles to meet the demand, or you need to let people know. So we do that now. In real time, we can tell the operators how many people are on that bus between stops, and we can show it to the passengers. The other thing is the world of contact tracing. And Passio has a system called Gateway. We've added a contact tracing module, and we're already out there with our customers. People have already purchased it because they need to know if somebody's that index case or that person who's infected, how are we going to tell the people who are near them? And that's what our system does. We tap, we swipe, we know who's on there, we know where you got on or got off. Once you report that you're not feeling well, and then unfortunately if it turns into something worse, we can then quickly look at your system, see who rode a few minutes before you get on, who was there when you were on, and who got off before you did. And we can report that instantly. And these universities, cities, agencies can report that to those people immediately because they already know who they are. We give them the identification of who was on when this person who was ill rode the vehicle.
Yeah, safety and knowledge is really, I think, the key going forward. And that's what we're focused on is how do we allow our operators to provide a safe environment and have the knowledge in order to run their environments better.
You know, so many folks that are involved in the healthcare community are utilizing transportation of the kind that you're helping to coordinate. And as a result, they're in an environment that is more likely to be susceptible to infection and the like. So what you're doing and the way you're doing it and contact tracing become just so critical. So it's very interesting how you have put that in place and been able to implement it so quickly. I suspect that's been a big attractiveness of your company to a lot of your customers too, hasn't it?
Yes, they appreciate both the combination of having that offering. I mean, we get asked pretty much daily, how does it work? Can you show us? Can we view that video that describes it so we can pass it up the chain? We're making sure that they know, but more importantly, they also want to understand how they'll use it. And that's the ones that have already signed up in just a matter of the last couple of weeks. They want to understand how transit operations will help them meet their needs for the public health. And that's what we've been able to do. We're experts on the transit side. We're giving them the tool, like Scott mentioned briefly earlier, and helping them put that together. So now the very smart people who are working on how they protect their populations now have a tool that's easy to use, easy to accessible. And we've always been open with our information. That's how we've grown and we've built. We don't say no. If you have another company doing something, we're open to those ideas. We're open to sharing our data. And that allows our customers to have the flexibility they need. And now more than ever, they don't need a company saying, no, you can't have that, or we're limiting it.
And that's that's really how we built our business, is from being a small business, is saying yes to our customers and listening to them and coming up with creative solutions that will help them. And that's what we're continuing to do during this COVID crisis.
Well, Scott and Mitch, you've done a great job in growing the company. I recall a couple of years ago when I first ran into Mitch and learning about how you and Scott have worked together and growing this company. I'm proud to be wearing my lime green t-shirt here, and very proud of what you're doing. So congratulations, keep up the good work, and thanks for what you're doing to help to address the COVID-19 issues too.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.